Hey Deckers, Cyberpunk 2077 version 2.3 has now dropped, and we've got auto drive and funky cinematic camera angles for while you're in auto drive, but that's not why we're here. Has it improved on the Steam Deck? Well, yes and no. First of all, the launcher is back, so if you want to get rid of this, then you need to go into the general properties of the game from the Steam Deck under the settings cog menu, properties and general. Then in the launch options, you want to put launcher skip. This will then let you bypass the launcher. If you haven't signed into your CD Projekt Red account first, then make sure you do that so that you get your full cross saves across all platforms. But once you've done that, you can use the launcher skip, and then you will launch directly into the game and not have to wait for that launcher to appear and press play. The default Steam Deck settings are still using AMD's FSR 2.1 for some reason, although it does seem to look okay. When we're moving around slowly, that motion blur still winds me up, so we'll turn that off in a little while. Driving around, we'll get around 30 to 40 frames per second, but when things really actually need to start loading or we're in heavy city areas, it will plummet back into those 30s. But if you want to cap it at 30 and have a nice cinematic experience, then that is definitely a great way to play. But as always, we can do a little bit better. And for those asking, FSR 3 doesn't really make a big difference. In fact, it actually brings in some other issues around fuzziness and flickering that FSR 2.1 has as well, but it's just not as bad. I will say though, we are going to be getting rid of FSR and starting with the low preset overall and switching to our good old XeSS, as we now have version 2.0, meaning it's even better. So set XeSS 2 to quality and sharpening to around 0.4. Leave everything else pretty much as it is, making sure motion blur is off, and then scroll all the way down and turn the level of detail up to at least medium. Once you do this, you're going to get a decent 40 to 50 frames per second. The image is going to look absolutely crystal clear. You will still get some fuzziness and flickering on some random trees here and there, but it is miles better than FSR ever is on the Steam Deck for some reason, even though it's an AMD device. Make it make sense. But overall, XeSS 2 is performing phenomenally well and also gets rid of a lot of that blur and jaggedness. It looks so crisp on the Steam Deck screen itself. Don't forget this is an 800p image upscaled, so shrink your window if you're on a big screen. We do still dip down into the 30s in some of the built up areas, and unfortunately nothing can save you from Dogtown as far as that performance hit goes, and even with these settings you will dip down into the mid 20s on occasion driving around at speed in the really built up area of Dogtown. Although it is still playable, it does dip into those mid-20s, which doesn't feel great, but any other settings that you run here will plummet you down into sometimes even single digits. So at least it's playable with both inside and outside of Dogtown with those settings. Of course, there is our good old faithful GeForce Now that we can run this with the native app now. And if you have the ultimate tier, we can run this with the ultra ray tracing setting and enjoy this game in all of its glory on the Steam Deck. Of course, you will need a decent internet connection, and the ultimate tier will set you back around £20 a month. But for an RTX 4080, it is still an absolute bargain. And if you don't need to go for the full RTX 4080 experience, you can get around a 20 to 3080 with the Premier tier at £10 a month as well. Or just test it out for free on the free tier. But overall, Cyberpunk 2077 2.3 is performing pretty much as it was in the previous update, with minor updates on the quality with XeSS 2, and don't rely on that auto drive too much because it is pretty dumb. So it's nice to take some pictures, but don't expect it to get you to your destination in a timely manner. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to be diving back into Cyberpunk to check out some of the new cars. I've already unlocked this new weaponized Caliban. It is absolutely awesome, and I'll definitely be spending some more time on those side quests in Cyberpunk. I'll leave you with some of the footage here from GeForce Now in the same vein that we had from the Steam Deck itself, so you can see just how different that looks. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.